I'm hitting record as well, so I hope that's all right for everybody. Okay. All right, so paying off debt. I like to talk about either a quote or use some kind of comic strip to kind of get us going. So I picked a couple of these quotes. I think they're kind of appropriate for us talking about trying to get our finances, back into good health. So the first one is from Frederick Douglass. And it says, or he said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. So how I interpret that for talking about debt or just talking about finances in general, sometimes it's a struggle to be honest with ourselves and to talk about, where we are, how much money we owe, how much money we might have in the bank. But if we don't grapple with it and kind of fight with it and get to a point where we can talk about it, then there's no progress for us to move forward. And then the other is from President Obama. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. So a lot of times we wait for the government to send us some money, or we wait for someone else to kind of bail us out of a situation that we're in. But we need to be the ones who step up and try to make change. We need to say, this isn't working for me. I need to do something different. So let's sit down and do what we need to do to get our finances in order. All right. So what is debt? Anybody want to throw out a guess?
When you owe somebody.
When you owe somebody. Okay. Yep.
Or company or business, hospitals.
Okay. Yep.
Something owed to someone or something.
Okay. Something owed to someone or something. All right. And that debt, it could be more than just money. You could owe somebody a favor. And it might not be something on paper, but it might be something morally that you know that you have to pay. But in this case, of course, we're talking about money. So you guys were right on point. Debt is an amount of money borrowed from one party to another. Basically, you owe, or someone lent you some money and you have to pay it back. Otherwise, it's a gift, right? Debt is used by people as a way to make large purchases they couldn't afford under normal circumstances. So what does that mean? It means if you look in your bank account and let's say you have $2,000, but you want to purchase a car and that car is worth, or you would pay $10,000. So you don't quite have enough money to purchase that. So now you go ask a bank to loan you the money so that you can make that purchase. A debt arrangement gives the person borrowing the money permission to borrow that money, and the person who's lending you the money knows that you're going to be paying it back at a later date under certain terms. It could be monthly payments, quarterly payments. If it's a business, it might be semi-annual payments, that type of thing. Okay, so there are 4 components of a loan, or 4 components of repaying a debt. Of course, the total amount of money that you borrow. So let's say, going back to that car, we have a $10,000 loan that we borrowed. The interest rate, unless it's 0% interest, they're saying, yes, you can borrow this money, but you're going to have to pay us some money for loaning it to you. So that's the interest rate. And typically it's based on a year. So 3.5% per year, 18% per year is what your interest is going to be. What else is involved with the component? The number of periodic payments. So a lot of times when we hear advertisements about purchasing a car, they might say something like 60 month, and that's a long time to pay for a car, but 60 months, that's the term of the loan, or 8 quarters, or, 4 semi payments, those types of things. And then of course, the all famous, the payment amount per period. So how much you're paying back every month. So a lot of times people decide if they can afford something based on what the periodic payment is going to be. So they might look at their budget and say, oh, I can afford $250 per month. So then I'll go ahead and sign up for that debt. Any questions about that so far? Okay. All right, so I have some questions for you. Again, that instructor in me, I like to see where you are as far as like your knowledge of the topic. So I got 5 questions here. So we'll read through the first question and then I'll take a volunteer to give an answer. So the first question is, what is the definition of interest on debt? Is it a curiosity about money, a fee you pay your lender in exchange for the right to use the borrowed funds, a fee you pay every time you withdraw money from your bank, or a fee you pay to transfer funds between different accounts? So which one do you think it is?
B.
You think it's B? Okay.
Yep,
I
B.
agree. B.
You agree? Okay. All right. Cool. Yep. It's the amount of money that you pay the lender in exchange for them loaning you the money. 1 for 1. Woohoo. All right. Second question. Which of the following could be considered good debt? Now we're going to talk about good debt in just a little bit, but you might be thinking, well, isn't all debt bad debt? What is good debt? But anyway, so auto loan, is that considered a good debt? Apartment lease, student loan, or borrowing from your 401k?
D.
I heard D.
The last one. Yep.
Okay.
C, student loan.
Student loan. Okay. All right. So let's see. Oh, Farian, you're gonna cast a vote? No. All right. So C, student loan. Now we'll talk in a little bit why that's considered a good debt, but the borrowing from a 401k is not considered a good debt because you're taking money out of the stock market. So you're going to be losing interest, and you're going to have to pay that back right away if you get terminated from your job, or if you decide to leave, you would have to pay that back right away. So, all right. So 2 for 2. Cool. Farian, I know you were going to say student loan, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, number 3. How could you determine whether your debt load is more than you can afford? Calculate your debt to income ratio, add up your expenses, call your financial institution, or calculate your net worth. How could you determine your debt load? How much debt you're carrying?
I think it could either be A or B.
A or B? Okay.
Yeah, A.
You say A, Farian? Okay.
A or C.
A or C. All right. Okay. The answer is A, calculate your debt to income ratio. And we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. It's not adding up your expenses that helps and to determine what your debt to income ratio is. But those expenses could also be living expenses, which aren't necessarily debts. So, all right. And then calling your financial institution, they might not know how much debt you have unless you have a loan with that specific financial institution. All right. Good job, guys. 2 more. How do you calculate your net worth? Is it money earned minus money owed? Is it good debt minus bad debt? Assets minus liabilities? Or savings plus annual income? How do you calculate your net worth? What do you guys think?
I'm gonna take a try. I'll
Okay.
take D, the last one.
D, savings plus, okay.
Because your net worth is how much money you have in total, correct?
That's a portion of it. It's a part of it.
I say D. I'm gonna say D.
You say D, okay.
I think it's C.
You think it's C, okay. All right, let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. It's C. Yep, so your net worth, your savings plus your annual income, you haven't quite gotten the annual income if it's at the beginning of the year, let's say. So the correct answer, the most correct, is assets minus liabilities. What does that mean? It means how much you own, the value of what you own minus your liabilities, minus your debts. So if you're sitting in a paid for house, you don't have any debts, your asset will be the value of that home plus what's in the bank, you know, your savings. If you have a mortgage and you don't have any other debts, you take, you know, all of what you have in the bank and you subtract what you still owe on that mortgage. So it's your assets minus your liabilities. That's your net worth. All right, then last question. After bankruptcy, which one of the following is a way you can rebuild your financial credit? Create an offshore account with a foreign country. Uh-oh, hiding money. Request a cash advance on your next paycheck. Take out several new loans or obtain a secured credit card account.
D.
Say D?
Yep, I
Okay.
say D.
Okay. Are you thinking, Roger?
Yes, I'm thinking.
Okay. Rebuilding your financial credit. Okay.
I think
Yeah,
it's D also.
I'll agree with
Okay.
that. I'll say D.
Everybody saying D? Okay. Ta-da! Yep. Obtain a secured credit card account. Yep. So the other ones, of course, aren't good, especially taking out several new loans. That's not going to help rebuild your credit. A secured credit card account is you are putting your own money into a bank account and you're using that credit card as if it were unsecured, meaning you don't have anything tied to it. Once you pay that responsibly over, you know, maybe 6-8 months to a year, that bank will turn that into, will convert it into an unsecured credit card. You'll get your money back and it's showing that you're handling your credit well, and they're reporting that every month to the credit bureau. All right. Okay, cool. Good job, guys. Ooh. Oh my goodness. All right. So secured debt versus unsecured debt. We're going to go through a couple more definitions here. Not all debt is created equal. And what does that mean? It means there's some debts that have some securities tied to them versus some debts that don't. Secured debt is debt that is backed by collateral. It's backed by an asset. So the lender knows that if you don't pay the money back on that loan, they can repossess or take that item back, right? So, for example, your home is collateral for your mortgage. Your car is collateral for your auto loan. We just talked about a secure credit card. That money is in the bank. So let's say you put $300 towards your secure credit card. If you don't pay it back, they already know you have that money in the bank and they can recoup that money to pay back that loan. With unsecured debt, the business or the company has loaned you money and there's no lien, there's no collateral. And typically if you get, let's say, an advertisement or you get a card in the mail and it's not a secure credit card, it's unsecured, that means that you are probably, you have a good credit score and you're not as much risk to pay back your debts because you have a high credit score. So it's based on your credit history. Now, also just make note, if you don't pay back that credit card, they could, do some things like sue you eventually, garnish your wages. There is a way for them to get the money back, but it's not tied to any specific asset. Any questions about that? Secured versus unsecured? All right. Okay. So good debt versus bad debt. Here we go. We talked about this a little bit earlier. What is good debt? What is bad debt? So the disclaimer is, if you want to purchase something, the best decision is to pay cash for it, of course. But, if you want to purchase a home, typically people don't have $100,000 in the bank to just go write a check, right? Or if you wanted to purchase, some other item that's a bigger item. All debt is bad debt if you can't afford to pay back the loan. So you need to, that's when you sit down, you look at your budget, and you determine how much money you can pay towards that loan. And we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about that debt to income ratio. So what is good debt? It's a low interest debt that helps to increase your net worth in the long term. So for example, they consider a student loan, and that's what we talked about in that question. Student loan is considered to be a good debt because it's an investment for the future. Your mortgage is considered a good debt because your house is going to increase in value over the years, and it's your path to home ownership. Now, last week we talked about people wanting to purchase their own home. Farian, you're still wanting to get your own home?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. And Roger, eventually?
Yes.
Yep. All right. Cesar, are you looking to purchase a home, or are you already a homeowner?
I was able to save up and buy a manufactured home.
Oh, okay. Nice. So you pay cash for it?
Yeah, I couldn't afford to buy a house in cash because they were all too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And the home loans that I got based on my income weren't high enough to afford a good home. And so I was either left with getting an apartment or buying a manufactured home.
Oh, okay. All right. And how's that working for you?
Good. I mean,
That's
I still have to pay rent, but it's a lot better than an apartment.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nice.
Because it's like owning a house, but you still have to pay rent, I guess, for the land.
Oh, sure. Yep. Yep. Okay. So if something breaks, you're responsible for it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I still have to mow the yard and everything.
Oh, right. Yeah. But that's the good part. I like, having to mow the lawn. That means, I don't know, gives me some purpose, I guess, for paying that mortgage.
Yeah.
All right. So then what is bad debt? And again, all debt is bad debt if you can't pay it back. But those expensive debts, those debts where you say, oh, I want to go to Disney World, so I'm going to put it on a credit card. If you can't pay it back right when you get back, that could lead to some problems. Credit cards with high interest rates, payday loans, those are considered to be bad debts. All right, so that debt load, that debt to income ratio we've been alluding to. So you need to take a look at, if you have debt, how much debt how much debt are you carrying? So your debt to income ratio is a percentage of how much money you earn every month that is going towards paying your debts. Now, these aren't your living expenses. The difference between a debt and a living expense is that a debt is something that you eventually pay off. There's a finite number, where your living expenses are things that you need to help you live, which means it's like your groceries, gas for your car, utilities, those things you pay as they come, and then it keeps going. But a debt is something that you borrowed and you have to pay back. So a good percentage to have of a debt to income ratio is somewhere between 36 to 43%. And we talk about debt to income ratio a lot when we're talking about purchasing a home. So like Cesar said, the bank saw that maybe he didn't have enough money to purchase, a mortgage. So not to throw you out there, Cesar, but so just something to look at, that percentage, 36 to 43%. It just means, go ahead, Cesar.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, what they told me is at that time I was only making around 30,000, and I have two kids, and so what they said based on my income, my dependents, and all my bills
Mm-hmm.
was that the only mortgage that they could offer me was a $30,000 mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
and that in Kalamazoo just couldn't get me a home that I really wanted.
Sure. Okay. Yep. So when you walk into a bank, the bank looks at how much debt you have and they calculate it. And once they figure it out, once they determine it, they look at the percentage. And 36% is like if you're looking for a conventional loan. 43% is if you're looking for an FHA loan. It's a loan backed by the government. So what they do is they take your total monthly debt payments, add those up together, and then divide it by your gross income. So those total debt payments could be what you're paying for your auto loan. If you have student loans, what you're paying for your rent or your mortgage. Now your rent is not a debt, but it's a large amount of money that you have to pay. Otherwise you're going to get evicted, right? So that's something you have to pay every month. Credit cards, home equity lines of credit, personal loans, old medical bills that you've agreed to pay every month. They add all those up and then divide it by your gross income. Now, gross income versus net income. The gross income is before your deductions are taken out, right? But your net income is the money that you take home. It's the money that's at your disposal. So typically we use net income to figure out what our debt to income ratio is, because you could have a difference of $500 between your gross and your net, but that $500 for deductions is not going to help pay your debt payments. So you might as well just look at the net amount. So we're going to we'll look at a couple examples here. All right. So let's say someone is just graduated from college, living at home with the parents, but they're paying, or they have a part-time job and they're making $1,000 a month. They don't have any rent or mortgage payment, but they have a car loan, student loan, and credit card payment. What is the debt to income ratio? This is the math instructor part of me here. So you add up all of your debt amount. That's the 240 plus the 90 plus the 50. Again, we're not adding up your phone bill. We're not adding utilities, things like that. It's just the debt payments. So that's $380, and you divide it by your monthly income. So this monthly income is 1,000. So what's that percentage going to be? It's going to be 38%. So is that debt to income ratio, is that okay? Is that a good load? So based on our 36 to 43%, yeah, that's in that range. So let's say this person decides to want to look at purchasing a home in the future. The banker is going to look at their debt to income ratio and see that it's manageable. Okay. So let's take a look at another person. This person's monthly income is $3,000. This person has a mortgage, $750. They have a home equity line of credit of $150. Now that home equity line of credit is like a second mortgage. So that home equity loan is tied to your home. So if you don't pay it, it's the same as if you had a first mortgage. Credit card payments and medical collection payment, $250. So they're paying a lot in things that that they don't necessarily need, right? Credit card payment, $300 a month, that's a lot of money. So what is their debt to income ratio? Well, we add up all their debts, $1,450 divided by 3,000. So that's almost 50%. So that means half of what they bring home every month is going towards paying off debt. So what would be a good way to decrease their debt to income ratio? What do you think would be good?
Probably pay the credit cards down.
Okay, pay down the credit cards a little quicker. All right. You gonna say something, Farian?
I was just gonna say eliminate some of their activities, like the wants over the needs.
Okay.
Kind of prioritize.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know,
Because probably what they were wanting, they were using their credit card to pay for. Okay. Yep. Yep. All right. Roger, were you going to say something?
Yes, take at a little percentage out of what they do get each month, or when they get paid, and start paying at least like a small percentage towards the debt.
Okay. Okay. Yep. They can
even
also,
even if it's like $5, even if it's like $5, still something going towards it.
okay, so paying a little extra. All right. Also, maybe trying to find a way to increase the income. So more money coming in, maybe you get a part-time job, maybe you do something on the side. Okay. Yep. Very good. All right. So plans. Uh-oh. Sorry. So plans for paying off debt. So once you look at your debts and you decide, okay, I want to start paying these debts off, what are good plans? So there are two plans or two methods that financial experts use, either the avalanche method, the debt snowball method. Both of them involve snow, two four-letter words that, you know, we don't quite like, right? Maybe it's somebody from the north who made these methods. But the avalanche method is you take your debts and you pay down your debt with the highest interest first, with the highest interest rate first, because for them, they're looking at, you're paying more money. Let's say you have $1,000 debt and you're paying 20% interest. That means you're paying $200 for this loan. So if you quickly pay that off, that's more money that you can save. That's the avalanche method. The debt snowball method is, if you take a look at the picture here, you've got a small snowball that moves into a bigger snowball, moves into a bigger snowball. So you're paying your smallest debt first, and then you take the money that you use to pay that small debt and you roll it into the next debt, and then you roll it into the next debt till everything is gone. Now, make note, with both methods, the avalanche method and the debt snowball method, you're still paying the minimum on all your debts. So it's not like you're disregarding all the other debts. You're paying your minimums. And then with the avalanche method, you're taking any extra money, throwing it at the debt with the highest interest rate. But with the debt snowball method, you're taking any extra money, paying it toward the smallest debt, and then moving your way forward. Now, I typically like talking about the debt snowball method because it is telling you, or it's giving me a little bit of motivation. And it's saying, hey, I paid off this small one. Maybe I can keep going. I jumped over that one hurdle. Let me keep going, jump over the next hurdle, jump over the next hurdle. So if I'm looking at my SMART goals, and the M in the SMART goals is measurable, you know, every time I hit a milestone, I reward myself. So it kind of goes hand in hand with that method. Any questions about the two methods? Is there one you would pick over the other one?
I would pick the avalanche over
You would pick the avalanche? Okay. You want to save the interest?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And some people, when they're first getting started with paying off some debt, they might choose the debt snowball method just to kind of get their feet wet, and then they can, you know, decide to go, you know, either way, back and forth. All right. All right. So what's next for you as we wrap things up here? The first workshop we talked about the 3 A's. Those 3 A's were assess, acknowledge, and action. Take action. So assess just means, where are you? How much debt do you have? You know, if you think about if you're on a weight loss journey, what's the first thing that you do in your weight loss journey?
Weigh yourself.
Weigh yourself. Yes. Yep. So every now and then I watch this show, 600-Pound Life. And I'm intrigued by it just because I like seeing how people, you know, they take a goal and, you know, it might take them a year, it might take them 2 years to finally reach their weight loss goal. But that's the first thing they do. They go and they get weighed. And so in this way, you're looking at all your debt. So you're writing down all your debt, all of them. Don't forget anyone, right? You acknowledge that better is available, and then you take action. You go ahead and little by little pay off these debts. So if you have a good idea of what your debts are, you write them down. You can also pull your credit report to see if there are any debts that you might think are in collection. You can go to annualcreditreport.com, and once a year, they give you free credit reports from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So you take a look at those. You also want to incorporate that into your debt repayment plan. Assess your work situation. So right now, you know, we're in the COVID-19. So your work might be different than what it was a few months ago. So determine if you are able to spend some money towards paying down your debt. If you can't, at least still write down your debt so you have a good idea. So when you do go back to work, you know how much money you need for your regular living expenses and how much you need to start paying off your debts. Choose a debt reduction plan that works best for you. Like Farian, you said Avalanche might work best for you. So you choose that method. And then have the confidence to know that you can accomplish your goals. Now, as you go, it's not going to be a smooth journey sometimes. You might have to, there might be a month where you have to pay extra in childcare, or you might have to pay extra in food or utilities. So that might pause your debt repayment plan. But again, you're just pausing it. Then you just kind of look again at your SMART goals, maybe change the timeline, but then pick up again, you know, where you left off. All right. Any questions? So that's my information there, my phone number, and then my email addresses if you want to ask me any questions. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing. All right. So any questions? Anybody have anything that something strike a nerve, or did I talk about something I didn't really get into and you have some other questions about? Okay. We're good. So next week, if you're available to join us, we are going to talk about credit scores and credit reports. So I was going to talk about it today, but I just knew there wasn't going to be enough time. So we're going to talk about that next week. So if you have any questions, if you want me to pull a report before we talk next week, let me know. Farian, I know you send me an email. I will answer your email. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Actually, Cesar, how did you hear about the workshop?
One of my friends recommended it to me.
One of your friends. Okay. All right. Is this a Momentum friend or just someone in the community?
Yeah, just someone in the community.
Someone in the community. Okay. All right, cool. Well, if you're available, hopefully we'll see you next week. You check the chat there from Janelle. So let us know. We'll keep the chat. We'll keep the meeting going if you have any other questions or if you want to respond to her chat. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Also, there is a support group tomorrow. There's a support Zoom, which is at 2 o'clock. It goes from 2 to 3. So if you need those details, let us know. We can get that information out to you. All right. Cool. Well, go out and enjoy some of the sun. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All
See you
right.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Janelle.